You know, you don't get paid for how hard you work. You get paid for the problems that you solve. And if your business isn't growing right now, or maybe your audience isn't growing, that's probably the reason. It's because those people don't see you as a solution to their problems. And that's what we're going to cover in today's video. We're going to have a look at how you look at your business and how your customers or your audience looks at you. Now, the first thing I would say to you is that people pay to have their problems removed. They don't care how long you've been in business. They don't really care how many social media followers you have, or all those awards, or all those letters after your name. They basically just want to know, is this person that I'm looking at or that I'm reading, is this the person that's going to solve my problem? And if you can't solve their problem, all that other stuff is just useless to them. Because we live in the world of Planet Me. And every time we go and watch a piece of content or read a book or listen to a podcast episode, we do it from our own perspective. What can I get out of this? And that's the first thing you need to do. You need to flip your mindset and stop thinking about you and your business, and you need to see it from the opposite side of the page or the screen. You've got to see it from your customers and your audience perspective, because they want a problem solved, and if they don't think you're the person who's going to do it, well, they're going to find someone else who will do it. So if you're not making any money, it's probably because you're not clear on the problem that you're solving. You know, you're maybe just throwing content on the internet, making videos or recording podcast episodes and making products and just throwing everything at the wall and hoping something sticks. But that's not a way to build a business. Because if you're not solving a problem, well, then you're just wasting your time. You're just being a busy fool. So maybe you need to have a look at what you're doing and maybe just ask yourself for a moment, am I solving any problems? Am I making anyone's life better? You know, will someone come away with my piece of content today saying, thank God I read that blog post, or thank God I watched that video. Thank God I bought that product because that person helped me solve my problem. So if you don't know this problem that you're solving, well, then maybe it's time you think about it. You know, in this video here, the problem I'm solving right now is I'm making you aware of the problem that you have. So hopefully by the end of this video, hopefully you will maybe subscribe, or hopefully maybe you might share this content, but hopefully it's going to change your life. And that's because I'm looking at this piece of content from your perspective and not from mine. Now, the next thing I would say to you is to stop thinking like a creator and start thinking like a problem solver. You know, we see so many videos on content creating. Oh, you need to create content for this and, you know, make a post this way or make your images this way. And it's all, you know, what we can do. But really, if we're not solving problems, we're just putting, you know, attractive posts on Instagram or on Facebook or on Pinterest or whatever. That's not really doing anything. Yes, it's making that website look nice and pretty, but that's as far as it goes. So instead of maybe creating content, maybe just flip the switch and just say to yourself, from this day on, I'm a problem solver. Because really, that's what people come on the internet for. We come to be entertained, and we're looking for solutions. Now, if you want to create entertainment content, well, fair enough, go ahead and do it. But for the majority of us who probably aren't very entertaining, we're going to need to rely on problem solving. So that's what you need to do. You need to think about the content that you're creating a day and ask yourself, well, will somebody who's watching this video or read this blog post or whatever content we're going to create, are we solving a problem? And if we're not solving a problem, then we're probably wasting our time. It's just going to be passed on the newsfeed and no one's going to take action on it. You know, just because we put a piece of content on the internet doesn't mean that anyone needs to pay attention to it. You need to make us aware of why we need to pay attention to it. And one of the greatest things you can do is to show us how you're going to solve our problems, because we love you for it. So instead of thinking like a content creator today, think like a problem solver and start creating your content solving problems. Another thing I'd say to you is to listen for pain in conversations. You know, maybe you might be saying to yourself, well, what content do I create? Well, what you can do is, if you have an audience, just go and survey them. Go and reach out through email. Go and talk to them on social media and say, well, what's your problem today? You know, why can't you get from point A to point B? What do you think's the problem? What's the things that I can maybe help you with to get you to that point? What's holding you back? And maybe if you haven't got an audience right now, well, go to places like Reddit, go to forums, go to Facebook groups, go where there is already an audience who's asking questions, who already have problems, who are putting up their hand and saying, I've got this problem, can somebody help me out? Now, you can find that sometimes maybe with a Google search. Sometimes you can find it maybe below a YouTube video, just reading through the comments. Again, another place you could go to is maybe Amazon. Go to a Kindle book, maybe on a topic that's related to what you're going to solve problems on, and just read through the reviews. How can you find any questions coming up there? Go to a website like Quora, or try another one like Answer the Public, and see what questions people are already asking. And that'll give you an idea of the type of content that you're creating. So try and listen to conversations to find out what the problems are if you're not sure what they are. And finally, build a business that feels like a dream shortcut to someone. You know, at the end of the day, we don't want to spend 6 months going from A to B if you can provide us with a solution where we're going to do it in a week. If you can change our life in 5 minutes. We're looking for shortcuts. And that's what we're going to keep looking for. We're going to look for ways we can condense the amount of time that we have and get from A to B faster. How can you make us look better? How can you make us sound better? How can you make us appear more clever? How can you put more money in our pocket? And how can you do it faster? Because you're going to find that people who provide solutions to that and that can make us get those solutions to our problems quicker are the people that's going to make the money. So give that some thought today if you are creating content and maybe your audience isn't growing or maybe your business isn't making the sales. Just ask yourself, am I solving anyone's problem? Am I just being a busy fool? Am I just throwing content on the internet and hoping that it lands with somebody and that somebody's going to give me a like, a share, and something's going to happen? You can't wait for that. Instead, put on your problem solving cap. Create content that's going to solve problems. And maybe step away from the internet for a couple of hours, pen and paper, and just ask yourself, how can I maybe condense down the length of time it's going to take someone to get from A to B? How can I do it faster? How can I give them the exact route where they won't make any mistakes and get there a lot quicker than I did? So give that some thought today. If you aren't being successful and again, not building your audience, it's not that you're not talented enough. It's just you're not giving people what they're looking for. So if you enjoyed this episode, I'd love if you maybe leave a comment below, maybe something you learned from it or something you'd like me to create in an upcoming video. And as always, have a lovely day. Take care. Bye-bye.